Most men chase, they run, they beg, they overcompensate, and what happens? She pulls away, she loses interest. She never saw you as the prize because you never saw yourself as one. But what if I told you that you don't need her to be interested first, that her interest doesn't even matter in the beginning? Because when a man carries himself with unshakable purpose, emotional discipline, and magnetic self-worth, her feelings follow his gravity, not the other way around. The truth is, women are biologically wired to be drawn to men who don't need them. It's not arrogance, it's certainty. It's a deep internal knowing that you are the storm, not some leaf blowing in the wind, hoping she picks you. She doesn't want a puppy. She wants a lion, a man who walks away when she plays games, a man who isn't fazed by silence, by rejection, or by testing. She may not be interested now, but she will be, not because you begged, not because you convinced her, but because you became the type of man she can't ignore. This is not manipulation. This is alignment. When you live a life so rich in purpose, progress, and peace, you become a gravitational force. The world, including her, starts orbiting you. So stop asking how to get her to like you. Start asking, how do I become a man she has no choice but to chase? Most men don't get it. They think the more they do, the more they give, the more they pursue, the more a woman will want them. So they chase. They send double texts. They plan everything. They show up everywhere she might be. They're available at the snap of a finger. And yet, they're the ones left unread, overlooked, and forgotten. Why? Because women are not wired to respond to chasing, they respond to attraction. And chasing is the opposite of attraction. You chase what's running away. You pursue what's trying to avoid you. And when you're the one always trying to prove your worth, what you're really signaling is that you don't believe in your own value unless she validates it. That's the turnoff. That's the repellent. That's the silent message being broadcast loud and clear. I'm not good enough unless you like me. And that energy, that desperation, is what makes her pull back. She may not even consciously understand it, but something inside her tells her you're not the one. The truth is, women don't chase men who chase them. They chase the man who doesn't need them. The man who is calm in her absence. The man who's not out there chasing, but is instead living with intention, living with purpose, living with vision. And in that space of grounded self-worth, he becomes He doesn't beg for attention, he commands it. Without saying a word, think about it when you walk into a room. What draws more attention? I'm running around trying to be liked, or the one who's composed, self-assured, and doesn't need the room's approval to be powerful? That man, the one who moves with purpose, who looks people in the eye, who isn't trying too hard, that man becomes the gravitational center of the room. And women feel that. They can't always explain it, but they're drawn to it. You've been taught your whole life that effort wins women over, that being nice enough, persistent enough, or romantic enough will eventually unlock her heart. But that advice was designed for the movies, not real life. In reality, women want a man who respects himself enough not to chase anyone, who has options but doesn't flaunt them, who chooses her but doesn't need her. That subtle difference between want and need, that's where attraction is born. When you stop chasing, you start pulling. You pull her curiosity, you pull her attention, you pull her imagination. Why? Because you've shifted the frame. Instead of making her your goal, you become the prize. Instead of working to earn her interest, you build yourself into the kind of man she wants to win over. And that's the key. You don't win women by chasing them. You win them by becoming the man they chase. Now, that doesn't mean you ignore her. It doesn't mean you play games. It means you stop trying to force attraction and instead focus on becoming naturally attractive. And that has nothing to do with looks, money, or status, though those things can help. It has everything to do with how you carry yourself, your confidence, your discipline, your direction in life, your ability to remain calm under pressure, your refusal to beg for attention. All of that sends one powerful signal. I am a man of value. Chasing says, please pick me. Attraction says, I pick me. And if you're lucky, I might pick you too. One comes from insecurity, the other from abundance. One reeks of neediness, the other breathes self-assurance. And women can smell the difference from a mile away. If you want her to chase you, even if she's not interested right now, you have to stop reacting to her and start focusing on you. Stop trying to win her and start winning in life. Become so focused on your growth, your goals, your mission, that her interest becomes secondary, not the fuel for your self-worth. Because here's the paradox. The moment you truly don't need her attention is when she'll start wondering why you're not giving it. And that curiosity, that's the seed of pursuit. A high-value man doesn't chase, not because he's playing hard to get, but because he is genuinely hard to get. His time is valuable. His energy is limited. His focus is on building, not begging. So when he gives a woman attention, it means something. It's rare. It's intentional. And that's exactly why it's irresistible. So if she's not interested right now, don't try harder. Don't push. Don't beg. Fall back. Reclaim your energy. Refocus it on building the kind of life and identity that pulls interest effortlessly. Become the man whose life is so rich, she can't help but want to be part of it. Because in the end, chasing will always leave you empty. But attraction, that silent, powerful force, will bring everything you've been looking for right to your doorstep. Not because you hunted it, but because you became it. If you want to flip the script and make her chase you, even when she's not interested, you have to rewire how you see yourself. Too many men walk into relationships, conversations, and even casual interactions with the belief that she is the prize, that somehow she holds all the value, all the power, and that he must perform, impress, or prove himself worthy. That mindset is the fastest way to stay overlooked, disrespected, and emotionally exhausted. The moment you start treating her like she's a prize to be won, you make yourself the one chasing. You place her on a pedestal and diminish your own worth in the process. You start making exceptions. You tolerate mixed signals. You lower your standards. You let things slide that you'd never accept from someone you truly respected, and she sees that. And the worst part is, once she senses that you see her as superior to you, she loses the very attraction you were trying so hard to build. Women don't want a man who puts them above himself. They want a man who knows his worth so clearly that he would rather walk away than be treated like an afterthought. That's the man she respects. That's the man she chooses. Because while she might enjoy the attention of a man who's obsessed with her, she desires the presence of a man who values himself more than her validation. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to act like you're better than her, but you do need to understand something most men never learn. You are the prize. Your time is the prize. Your presence, your attention, your loyalty, your energy. That is the reward, not because you said so, but because you've built a life and intensity that makes it true. When you treat yourself like the prize, you stop seeking permission to be enough. You stop asking women to define your worth. You stop bending just to keep her around. And instead, you show up with a quiet, unshakable confidence that speaks volumes. I don't need to be chosen. I choose. That shift changes everything. You're no longer afraid to lose her because you know that the wrong woman walking away makes space for the right one. You're no longer anxious when she pulls back because your self-worth isn't tied to her behavior. You're no longer emotionally hostage to her attention because you've become emotionally independent. And when she feels that, really feels that strength in you, something shifts. Suddenly, you're not the one hoping she stays. She's the one hoping you don't walk away. Women are deeply attracted to men who are selective, not players, not manipulators, but men who know what they want and refuse to settle for less. Men who have standards not just for women but for themselves, because when you demand more from yourself, you naturally demands more from your environment, and that includes who you allow into your life. That's the energy of being the prize. You're not sitting around hoping someone picks you. You've built something so solid inside yourself, discipline, focus, peace, and purpose, that any woman who enters your world knows she's either going to rise with you or be left behind. And that, right there, is where desire lives. Not in your pursuit, but in your presence. Not in trying to earn her, but in simply being someone she wants to earn. And here's the thing, when you're the Prize you don't need to chase, you don't need to prove, you don't even need to convince. Your existence becomes the proof. Your mindset, your lifestyle, your attitude, all of it becomes a natural filter. Low value women won't even want to step into your world because they'll know they can't play games with you. High value women, on the other hand, will recognize that they're in the presence of someone rare and they'll step up. Being the prize is about leading, not from ego, but from certainty. It's about knowing that what you bring to the table is rare. Not because of what you say, but because of who you are. It's about being so deeply aligned with your own standards that her interest is a bonus, not the goal. You're not trying to win her over. You're allowing her the opportunity to step into a life that's already full. When you embody that energy, women feel it. They pick up on the way you speak, the way you move, the way you handle rejection, the way you set boundaries, and the way you never chase. And slowly, almost silently, the dynamic begins to shift. She starts wondering why you're not giving her the same energy other guys do. She starts thinking about you more. She starts realizing that you're not like the others. And now she's intrigued. Now she's invested. Now she's chasing. And it's not because you tricked her. It's not because you played some game. It's because you flipped the script and made her feel what most men never do, that she has to earn you, not the other way around. If you want to become the kind of man that women chase, even if they're not interested at first, there's one skill you absolutely have to master. Emotional control. Not just acting like you're in control, not just pretending to be calm on the outside while you're panicking on the inside. Real control. The kind that comes from self-awareness, discipline, and the decision to never let anyone, especially a woman, determine your emotional state. Most men fail here. They react instead of respond. She doesn't text back and they spiral. She says she's not feeling it and they get defensive or needy. She pulls away and they chase harder, hoping to win her back. That behavior doesn't come from confidence. Comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. And women can sense that fear even if it's unspoken. It leaks through your tone, your timing, your body language. It tells her that she controls you emotionally, and the second she feels that, the attraction dies. You have to understand this. Women are constantly testing your emotional strength, not always intentionally, but instinctively. She wants to know if you're the kind of man who can handle life stress, pressure, and yes, her. So she'll go cold, she'll pull back, she'll go silent. Not to hurt you, but to see who you really are when things aren't going your way. And when you respond with desperation or emotional instability, you've already lost. Emotional control isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about mastering them. It's about knowing exactly what you're feeling, but choosing not to act on impulse. It's about taking a breath before you respond, detaching from the outcome, and making decisions based on who you are, not on what you're afraid of losing. That kind of control is rare. And rare is attractive when you stay composed under pressure, when you don't flinch in the face of disinterest, when you don't break character just because she's acting different. You stand out. Most men crumble, most men chase, most men lose their edge the moment a woman becomes unpredictable, but not you. You don't react, you observe, you assess, and then you decide calmly, deliberately, powerfully. That calmness is magnetic. It's unsettling to some women because they're not used to it. They're used to men who fold, who beg, who rush in to fix or explain. But when you maintain control, when you hold your ground and remain centered, it forces her to recalibrate. She starts asking questions. Why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he chasing? Why is he so calm? And that curiosity creates the space for attraction to grow. Emotional control is the backbone of masculine energy. It's what separates men who are led by their feelings from men who lead, regardless of their feelings. You don't need to be cold or emotionless. You just need to be grounded. Your emotions can exist, but they don't get to run the show. You can be disappointed and still walk away. You can be hurt and still hold your boundary. You can feel attraction and still not chase someone who doesn't match your energy. That's strength. That's power. And that's what she respects. Even if she doesn't say it, when you're emotionally in control, you become immune to manipulation. You're not swayed by hot and cold behavior. You're not baited by drama. You're not seduced by flattery or shaken by rejection. You see things clearly. You respond with intention, and that energy makes you dangerous in the best way. Not dangerous because you hurt people, but because no one can control you. And that kind of man is incredibly rare. She might not be interested right now. She might even try to push your buttons. But the man who doesn't flinch, he's the one she remembers. He's the one she questions. He's the one she wonders about at night. Because you didn't give her the emotional reaction she's used to. You gave her strength, stillness, power, and that leaves a mark. Most men think attraction is about what they say, but the truth is attraction is about what you don't say when your ego is being tested. It's about what you don't do when you're feeling triggered. It's about the space between her action and your response, and how you use that space to show her you're different, better, stronger, and worth chasing. So the next time she doesn't reply, don't double text. The next time she's cold, don't overanalyze. The next time she pulls, okay, don't chase, just breathe, pull back, recenter, and remember who you are. You are not a man who reacts to every wave. You are the ocean, deep, still, and powerful beneath the surface. That's the kind of energy that doesn't beg for attention, it commands it. And if you master this, if you truly embrace emotional control, you won't just make her interested, you'll make her obsessed with the one thing she can't shake, a man who doesn't flinch when most men fall apart. Before you worry about making any woman chase you, you need to ask yourself a brutal, honest question. Why would she? Not in a self-deprecating way, but in a way that forces you to look at your current reality. Because the hard truth is this: women don't chase average men. They don't chase comfort zones. They don't chase potential. They chase results. They chase movement. They chase value. And if your life doesn't reflect that, then attraction isn't going to stick, no matter what words you say or what games you try to play. You've got to level up your life first. That means taking ownership of every single area: your finances, your fitness, your mindset, your lifestyle, your vision, not because you want to impress her, but because you refuse to settle for being the same man every year. Most guys want to shortcut their way to attraction. They want tips, tricks, and hacks to get women interested. But attraction doesn't come from tactics. It comes from transformation. You want her attention? Get in shape. Start showing discipline. Start keeping promises to yourself. The second you walk into a room, your body language should already speak louder than your words. You want to be irresistible? Get your money right. Build something. Grow your income. Not for status, but because a man who provides for himself is a man who signals strength, responsibility, and direction. Women are biologically wired to be drawn to security, not just physical security, but emotional and financial as well. You don't need to be a millionaire. You just need to be progressing, improving, leveling up. You don't need a six-pack, but you damn sure need to be working toward health and strength, because a man who respects his body earns respect from others. You don't need to have all the answers, but you better be asking better questions every day, studying yourself, confronting your weaknesses, and turning your pain into purpose. That kind of man doesn't have to chase. He becomes a magnet. He doesn't run after validation. He attracts it naturally because he carries an energy that tells the world, I'm not done evolving. And that energy is contagious, it's compelling, because people, especially women, feel it when you're moving differently, when your life has structure, when you walk with focus, when your time is limited, not because you're avoiding her, but because you're building something bigger than her. The truth is, leveling up your life shifts your entire frame. Instead of asking, how do I get her to like me? You start asking, does she even fit in the world I'm creating? That shift puts you in the driver's seat. Now you are the prize. Now you are the one qualifying her. And that changes the entire dynamic. Suddenly, you're not trying to win someone over. You're evaluating who deserves access to your upgraded reality. And make no mistake, women can spot a man on the rise from a mile away. They notice the way you speak with intention, the way you move with confidence, the way you handle rejection like it's just data, not devastation. They notice the habits, the routine, the ambition. They notice that you don't need them to feel complete. And that's exactly why they start craving your presence. You want her to chase you. Give her something worth chasing, not just potential, but proof. Show her you've outgrown the distractions most men are still addicted to. Show her you're not sitting around swiping on apps all day. Show her you're not endlessly scrolling, binge watching, and wasting time. Show her that while other men are playing, you're building your mind, your body, your empire, your future. And here's the best part. When you level up your life first, you stop obsessing over women altogether. Not because you don't like them, but because you're not led by the need for them. You become a man who chooses, not chases. And that makes you rare. Women chase men who are rare. They chase men who are fully focused on themselves, men who are unavailable, not because they're rude or manipulative, but because they have standards and a mission that comes first. Every hour you spend trying to win a woman's attention is an hour you could have invested in your own growth. And ironically, the more you invest in yourself, the more attention you naturally attract, because nothing is more attractive than a man who is locked in on his purpose, a man who walks into a room and doesn't look around for approval, a man who can walk away from anyone at any time without flinching, because he knows that the world he's creating does need to beg for company. So stop making women the finish line. Stop thinking that once you get the girl, you've made it. You haven't made it until your life reflects mastery, until your inner world is stronger than your outer temptations, until you wake up every day knowing you are further ahead than you were yesterday. When you reach that level, the question isn't, how do I get her to notice me? Well, the question becomes, can she keep up? And that's when she starts chasing, not because you manipulated her, but because she feels what most men never give her, a man who doesn't need her, but who is too valuable to ignore. If you really want to flip the dynamic and make a woman chase you, even when she didn't seem interested at first, you need to understand one powerful truth. Presence doesn't build desire, absence does. The more available you are, the more accessible, predictable, and easy to reach you become, the faster you blend into the background. You become a habit, not a mystery, a comfort, not a challenge. And women don't chase comfort. They chase uncertainty, curiosity, and the man who isn't always there when she expects him to be. Letting her feel your absence isn't about playing childish games or pretending you're too busy. It's about creating real space where she can actually miss you. Most men smother women with attention. They check in constantly, they text back within seconds, they give all of their energy away too quickly, and then wonder why the woman starts pulling away. But attraction needs tension. It needs distance. It needs time to breathe. You can't create desire when you're always in front of her. You've got to be willing to step back, not in weakness, not in fear, but in strength, because when you step back, when you allow silence to do the talking, something powerful happens. She starts to wonder. She starts to question what you're doing, who you're with, why you're not chasing, why you're not fighting for her attention like everyone else. And that curiosity, those unanswered questions, are what spark not your words, not your emojis, not your constant reassurance, but the void you leave behind. A woman cannot miss a man who never disappears. She cannot chase someone who's always chasing her, and she cannot value your presence if she's never experienced your absence. That's the secret most men never learn. They think consistency is the way to her heart. They think availability equals value, but it doesn't. What creates value is scarcity, and the man who's not always there, because he has a life, a mission, a purpose, is the man who gets remembered. When you let her feel your absence, you're not punishing her, you're positioning yourself. You're showing her that you don't need her to fill your time. You're not sitting around waiting for her to text. You're not jumping every time she calls. You're in motion, you're building, you're living. And that creates intrigue, because most men are emotionally dependent. Most men fold the moment a woman shows any sign of interest. But when you don't, when you keep your pace, you become the outlier, and that makes you unforgettable. Your silence should speak louder than your effort ever could, because your absence is a mirror. It reflects your true feelings. If she values you, she'll feel the space and try to close it. If she doesn't, she'll fade. And that's your cue to move on without a word. Either way, you win. You win because you didn't beg, you didn't chase, you didn't give your dignity away for attention. You simply step back and let reality reveal itself. Letting her feel your absence also protects your energy. It keeps you grounded in your own identity. It reminds you that your time is not a gift you give away freely. It's earned. It's valuable. And only a woman who meets your standards should have the privilege of access. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. And the more you respect your time, the more others will too, especially women, because whether they admit it or not, women crave a man who is rooted in his purpose, not orbiting around theirs. So stop texting just to keep the connection alive. Stop checking in just to prove you care. Stop giving your presence to someone who hasn't earned the right to miss you. Instead, focus on your world. Pour yourself into the gym, your business, your craft, your circle. Build a life so full that your absence from anyone becomes noticeable. That's how you flip the dynamic. That's how you stop chasing and start attracting. Because you let her feel what it's like when you're not around. And the moment she starts to feel that absence, not just logically, but emotionally, everything changes. Now, she's not thinking about the last text you sent. She's thinking about why you haven't sent one. She's not replaying your compliments. She's replaying the silence. She's wondering what you're doing, who you're with, and why she's not part of it. That's where the power lives, not in the words you say, but in the space you create. Let her feel your absence like a storm that passed too quickly, like a presence she underestimated until it was gone, because that absence will linger in her mind longer than any words you could have said. And if she's truly interested, if there was ever any potential there, that absence will pull her toward you with more force than chasing ever could. So don't fear silence. Don't rush to fill every gap. Don't panic when there's space. Embrace it, use it. Let your absence do what your presence never could. Make her realize that losing you is worse than missing you. And when she finally comes looking, not for validation, but for connection, that's when you know you did it right. Not because you begged for her attention, but because you earned her curiosity by simply walking away and letting the silence do what words never could. If you want to become the kind of man that women chase, even the ones who seem disinterested at first, you need to rewire the way you think about success, rejection, and attraction. Most guys are obsessed with the outcome. Did she text back? Did she smile? Did you say yes? Did you win? That mindset right there is the reason so many men fail. Because when you tie your sense of self to a specific outcome, especially with women, you give your power away. You place your confidence in something you don't control, and the second she pulls back, flakes, or doesn't respond how you hoped, your whole identity collapses. You've got to detach from the outcome, not in a passive, careless way, but in a powerful, intentional way. You have to become the kind of man who knows that no matter what happens, you win. Because you're not here to impress, you're not here to perform. You're here to grow. You're here to sharpen your mindset, raise your standards, and become the strongest version of yourself. And nothing she says or does can shake that. This is where most men break. They get ghosted, and suddenly they're doubting everything about themselves. They get rejected, and their whole energy drops. They didn't get the response they wanted, and now they're second-guessing, overthinking, analyzing every little detail. But a man who's attached to growth doesn't flinch. He doesn't see rejection as failure. He sees it as feedback. He doesn't crumble when things don't go his way. He adapts, he adjusts, and he keeps moving forward. This mindset is everything, because women can feel when you're desperate for validation. They can sense when you're outcome dependent. It shows up in the way you speak, the way you wait on her reply, the way you shift your tone trying to please her. That's not attractive. That's needy, and neediness repels more than anything else. But when you're detached from whether she likes you or not, when your main focus is on being better than the man you were yesterday, that's when your energy becomes magnetic. You stop trying to win her over. You start living your truth. You start setting boundaries. You stop putting her on a pedestal and start asking yourself, does this even align with the life I'm building? Now you're playing a different game. You're not chasing affection, you're chasing mastery. You're not driven by attention, you're driven by evolution. And that shift in focus, that quiet confidence, is what separates you from every other guy. When you detach from the outcome, you stop fearing rejection, because rejection doesn't define you anymore. It refines you. Every time a woman pulls away, every time you hear no, every time something doesn't work out, that's a chance to level up, a chance to practice composure, a chance to learn, to grow, to reinforce your standards. It's not the end of anything, it's the sharpening of everything. This mindset gives you the ultimate freedom. Now you can approach a woman without fear. You can speak your mind, you can be authentic, you can lead, because you're not looking for reward, you're looking for alignment. And if it's not there, you walk. Not out of bitterness, but out of strength, because you know what you bring, you know what you're building. You don't need her to completion. You're already on your path. That's when she starts to notice. When you're unshaken by her disinterest, when you don't chase after, she withdraws, when you're calm, steady, and centered no matter what. It confuses her, it intrigues her, it challenges her, because every other man reacts, every other man stumbles, every other man loses control, but not you. You detach from the outcome and you stay locked in on your own elevation. This is how you build unshakable confidence. Not through fake bravado, but through real growth. You work on your body, your habits, your income, your purpose, not for her, but for you. You don't train to look good for attention. You train because you refuse to be weak. You don't read, study, hustle, and grind to get noticed. You do it because excellence is your identity. You attach yourself to progress, not approval. And the result? You become untouchable. She can like you or not, she can flirt or disappear. She can show interest or change her mind. None of it shakes you, because your value doesn't rise and fall based on what someone else thinks. Your value is internal, earned, built, unbreakable, and that is what makes her chase. Not your looks, not your lines, not your compliments, but your unshakable sense of self-worth. So let go of the outcome. Let go of the need to win her over. Let go of the obsession with how things should turn out. Instead, lock in on your growth. Fall in love with your discipline. Obsess over your mission. Wake up every day with one question: how can I be 1% better than yesterday? And then do it day after day, year after year. Because when you become that kind of man, when your whole identity is tied to growth and not approval, nothing can stop you, and no woman can ignore you for long. So stop asking how to make her want you. Start becoming the man who doesn't need to be wanted to feel powerful. Let her feel your absence. Let your growth be louder than your words. Be the man who doesn't chase, but who commands presence simply by existing in his lane. Because when you stop running after women and start running after greatness, everything shifts. The same woman who once overlooked you will now be watching, wondering, regretting, not because you convinced her, but because you became undeniable. And that right there is how you make any woman chase you, even if she wasn't interested at first.